Hi everyone, we're now on lesson 17, dividing whole numbers by 100. Okay, so last lesson we were dividing by 10 and now we're dividing by 100. Okay, so make sure you can remember what we did in our last lesson because that's going to help you with this lesson. So our in focus task says, Charles wants to use all the blocks of soap to make 100 packs, all containing the same amount of soap. How much soap is there in each pack? So Charles has already told us, I start with 14 large blocks of soap and he wants to make 100 packs. Okay, so think about the title of the lesson. Think about what you did to work out dividing by 10 in the last lesson, okay, because that's going to help you work out the answer to this in focus task. So have a little go, pause the video now, see if you can come up with a method or an answer, okay, or both, even better. Pause the video now whilst you give that a go. Okay, so what is the number sentence that we are trying to work out here? If we've got 14 blocks of soap and he wants to make 100 packs, what's the number sentence? We have 14 and we are going to split them into 100. We are going to divide those 14 blocks of soap into 100 packs. So we are doing 14 divided by 100. The clue was the title of the lesson, dividing whole numbers by 100. Okay, so now the next problem is how we're going to work that out. We learnt last lesson when we were looking at our place value grid how to divide by 10. So let's have a go at 14 divided by 10. We remember that we put our number in our place value grid. 14 has 1 10 and 4 ones. If we're dividing by 10, we're going backwards, we're getting smaller, aren't we, when we're dividing? So dividing by 10, we would move each digit back one place. So the 1 would go in the ones column, we'd have our decimal point, and then the 4 would move into the tenths column. So 14 divided by 10 would be 1.4, or 1 whole and 4 tenths. But we're not dividing by 10, we want to divide by 100. So it is the same method, but what do we think may be different? This time, when dividing by 100, we need to move our digits back 2 spaces instead of 1. So when we divide by 10, we move 1 space. When we divide by 100, we move each digit 2 places. Okay, so the 4 is going to go 1, 2, and the 1 is going to go 1, 2. So the 4 moves back to the hundredths column, and the 1 moves back to the tenths column. Okay, and we have our decimal point, and then we have to put our 0 placeholder in. So we have 0.14. Write them out next to each other to make it easier to see. Each digit moves back 2 spaces. Okay, let's have a look how they've laid it out in our textbook. So they have split the 14 into a 10 and into a 4. They've done 10 divided by 100 first. So this bar of soap is 1/10 of a block. We know that. In our number square, in our 100 square, which represents 1 whole, 1 row or 1 column is worth a 1/10. Okay, so 10 divided by 100, the digit 1 is in the tens place, and now it's moved back into the tenths place because it's gone past the ones column into the tenths place. Okay, and then they've done 4 divided by 100 separately. This piece of soap is 1/100th of a block of soap, so the little tiny square there. So the 4's in the ones place at the moment, and it's going to move back 2 places into the hundredths place. So they've done exactly what we've done, but they've done it separately as a 10 and a 4. They've moved each back 2 spaces, and when you put 0.4 and 0.1 together, you get 0.14. Okay, So this has helped you to visualise it, remembering that each row or column is worth a tenth and each individual little square is worth a hundredth. Okay. So here we go. Here's how they've illustrated what we've worked out. They've got their place value grid. When you divide by 100, each one moves back 2 spaces, 1, 2, 1, 2, to create 0.14. Remember to put that 0 in for the placeholder before the decimal point. Okay. Now we're going to have a go at the guided practice. Number 1 says use a calculator to help you, but I don't think you need to use a calculator. Okay, so just ignore that bit for now. I want you to pick any whole number that's less than 100. Any whole number. First thing you're going to do with that number is divide it by 10. Okay, and write the answer. Then you're going to start again with that number and divide it by 100 instead. Okay, and I want you to think about what you notice about the quotient in each case. Who can remember what the word quotient means, or quotient? It means the answer or the number that you get when you divide 2 numbers. Okay, so you're looking at the outcome of what you get when you divide it by 10 and divide it by 100. So I'm going to do an example for you. I'm going to randomly select the number 52. And first of all, I need to divide it by 10. And then I'm dividing it by 100. Okay, and this is where it might be useful for you to have your place value grid either printed out from the Google Classroom or one drawn yourself on a little bit of paper. Okay, so when we divide by 10, how many spaces do we move the digits? We move it 1, and when we divide it by 100, how many spaces do we move it? We move it 2. Okay, so first thing I need to write 52 in, 5 10s, 2 1s. Dividing it by 10, I'm going to move each of them 1 space. Okay, so the 5 comes to here and the 2 comes to here. 5.2, remember your decimal point goes all the way down. So 52 divided by 10 is 5.2. And if I divide it by 100, we're going 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, so my 5 comes to here and my 2 comes to here, and I pop that 0 in. Sorry you couldn't see that. 52, my 2 jumps to here, 1, 2, my 5 comes to here. Okay, and then I put the 0 in before the decimal point. So 52 divided by 100 is 0.52. Okay, I would like you to do that for at least 5 different numbers. Okay, we can't go through the answers as we're all going to be selecting different random numbers below 100. Okay, but you can keep them on your piece of paper and possibly ask somebody in your house to mark them, or you can put them on our Google Classroom stream and I can mark them there if you would like to. So do that for 5 numbers, divide it by 10, divide it by 100. Pause the video now whilst you give that a go. Okay, and we have section number 2 that says divide 7 divided by 10, 7 divided by 100, 59 divided by 10, 59 divided by 100. Okay, pause video now, give that a go, and we can come back together for the answers. Okay, so the first one we have question 2a, 7 divided by 10. We're moving it back 1 space equals 0.7. Okay, because imagine the decimal point is here, because it's 7 holes that we've got, and we move it back 1 space. B, we've got 7 divided by 100. We move it back 2 places, 0.07. C, we've got 59 divided by 10, moving it back 1 space, so that's 5.9. And lastly, we have 59 divided by 100, moving it back 2 spaces, we have 0.59. Okay, well done if you got those correct. I do really find using a place value grid helpful to actually see those jumps moving back, seeing whether the decimal point is in the correct place, where you need to put that 0 placeholder. Okay, so if that worked for you, I would encourage you to use that place value grid or draw your own. Okay, so now it's time for you to complete worksheet 17, pages 33 to 35. So we've got a couple of pages to do today. Remember that place value, please. Any questions, please post on the Google Classroom. If you're confused about anything, private comment your teacher and they can help you with any problems that you have. Okay, good luck everyone.